Hey guys, so I decided to go back 150 years ago and try to show you that certain things never change. It just repeats and repeat and repeat, maybe different shape, different form, but it's always the same. So let's go back to 1870. Back in 1870, every man in Western Pennsylvania, what were they doing? They were drilling for oil, right? Rockefeller was the only one basically that was not drilling a well. 10 years later, he was actually controlling 90% of that industry. How? What happened? Oh, well, the oil rush looked like every single rush. Farms, mortgage, drilling rights issued everywhere. People made fortunes and people lost fortunes at the same time too. But Rockefeller, what he did, he looked at the same field and asked a very different question. Not where is the oil, but what does the oil have to do to pass through? For example, refineries. So crude in the ground is worthless, okay, until it becomes refined. Someone needed to refine it. So what did he do? He started buying refineries. Then he saw what stood behind the refineries, railroads. In 1871, he actually backed a secret arrangement with them. So a rebate of $1.06 on every barrel he shipped out of Cleveland against a posted rate of $2.56. So, and that's another $1.06 basically cents paid to him on every barrel his competitors were shipping on the railroad, right? So it was kind of exposed and dead, but 5 months later. So he made the money. But in the weeks he ran that, he took 18 of Cleveland's refineries out. By 1880, Standard Oil was actually refining 95% of the oil in America. This gets told as a story about ruthlessness, a story about structure, maybe could be more appropriate here. Everyone else owned the asset. Rockefeller, instead, he owned the passage. The drillers have oil, and oil is worth nothing in the ground. So he owned the only route it could take to a customer. And when you own that, you don't have to be right anymore. You don't have to guess which field comes in or where the price lands or who wins. Everyone else's success reaches them through you. He never stopped. Barrels were a bottleneck. So he built the barrels work. Then he bought the timberland for the staves, right? Then pipelines, then tank cars. Every narrow place he bought. And notice what he was buying. It was never the exciting things, never the headlines, the boring things standing next to it. In 1870, when nobody basically wanted to tell a story about refining, drilling was the actual story. That's the pattern, and it has nothing to do with oil. The families who compounded through that era were not the ones who picked the right well. They were the ones who asked what everything had to cross and bought that instead, quietly, while the market bid on the headlines only. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. Back in 1882, 2 years after Standard Oil reached 95% of the market, he did the same thing to his own money. Not a bank, not an advisor he called when something happened, but a permanent staff of professionals whose only job was the family's capital. The office is generally considered the first modern family office back in the days. It grew into, I don't know, like 3 floors, if I'm not mistaken, of the Rockefeller Center, and nearly 300 to 400 people working there. And its name was a room number, 5,600. That's basically the number. In 1911, the Supreme Court broke Standard Oil into 33 pieces. The office was still running a century later. He asked the same question about himself, okay, that he asked about the oil. It's the same thing, it just repeated. Then he built the answer for himself, and he staffed it so that it no longer depended on him being alive. And that's the important part. It's continuity, it's legacy. He never drilled a well. He just owned everything the oil had to pass through. So what is your money bidding on? The asset or the passage? See you next week.